I'm going to be taking a look at another game collection that I have. This is the Standard Combat series, and this is a series of games designed by Dean Essig originally, and they're meant to be simpler hex encounter games. However, I wouldn't say that they're necessarily short. So, I mean, you're not getting like a 1 or 2 hour game here, but you are getting basically, 6 to 8 pages of rules and, and some special rules adapting it to the specific topic. And I have a fairly complete collection, but it isn't complete. I don't have the original Africa game, although I do have Africa 2, which is just a new and improved of the same game. I also don't have Stalingrad Pocket, the first version, which kind of got revamped into the second version called Stalingrad Pocket 2. I do have that one, and which is a better game that's more along the lines of Dean Essig's design. And I don't have Fallschirmjäger. I used to have it, and I sold it quite a while ago when the price was really high. It just was not my favorite of the games, so I let that one go, but I understand it's a very good game. So I'm going to go through my collection here. This is Stalingrad Pocket, the second edition, and this basically covers the late 1942, November, December of 1942. It kind of overlaps with what is being covered in Enemy at the Gates in the operational combat system. But this game is scaled at basically 2 days per turn, which is quite different from the OCS. And there are 16 turns in the game. And the map is scaled at 5.5 kilometers per hex. I would say that's about 3 miles per hex, probably. And the units are all the way from battalions up to divisions. That uses reserve markers and alert battalions and things like that. So it's quite a good game. I definitely recommend it, but it isn't a short play. The next game that I have in the series is Ardennes. And this is a Battle of the Bulge game. And again, not a short game. It's 1 turn equals 1 day of time, and the game goes 16 turns. And the scale is 1 mile per hex, and the units are like battalion up through brigades. So it has a very unique order of battle presented in the system. It's not really cookie cutter. And it has air points like, most of the games have for air coverage. And this also has rules for supply and blowing bridges and things like that. So it's exactly what you'd expect. It's a very good Ardennes game, I think, although I've never won as the Germans, but probably you shouldn't be able to. Then we have one on the October War, Yom Kippur. And this game is also, it's a fairly easy game. It scales at 2 days per turn, and there are 12 turns in the game. And it is, I think, 2 miles per hex on the map grid, and the units go down to the size of company up to brigades. And it has rules for engineers and headquarters and air points and SAMs and things like that. So it's a pretty good game. It does have that infamous Jeep unit that can move practically anywhere in the game, and I think you can rebuild that a bunch of times. So I don't know how that all works out, but it never bothered me too much. I enjoyed the game. Then I have this one, Crusader, which is covering Operation Crusader in November and December of 1941. Yeah, this is quite a simple game, I think. It's 2 days per turn, and there are only 11 turns in the game. And the scale is like 2.5 miles per hex, with units from battalions to brigades, so there's a lot of detail. Minimal special rules in this one, but there are rules for Rommel, as you would expect. So, yeah, Crusader. And then I have another North Africa game from this series, Gazala. I've reviewed this one already in another video, but this scales at 1 day per turn. But this game can play out 24 turns, so it can be fairly long. And the scale is 1.25 per hex. And the units are like from battalion to regiment. And it has special rules for KG Hecker. It has rules for Rommel, has rules for minefields, air power and things like that. So overall, it's a decent game if you like the Gazala topic. Continuing on, the next game in my collection is Drive on Paris, and this is pretty much a game on the Schleifen plan, and actually pretty good game. I really enjoyed this one a lot when I played it. A turn in the game represents half a week, so every 2 turns you're going through a week of this period, and the game lasts 25 turns, I think. So it takes you through August to November of 1914 in basically France and the Low Countries. The scale is like 10 kilometers per hex, so that's about 6 miles per hex, and the units are from brigades up to divisions. And it has special rules for headquarters, which are closely related to the supply line, trains, fortresses, trenches. You have MX assault. There are rules for taxis. Really decent game, not short to play. Maybe sometime I'll have a video about my playthrough of that game. Then I have another World War I game in the standard combat series, Operation Michael. Again, this is another of the more mobile World War I operations, much like the Schleifen plan was. And in this game, we're in 1918, March and April, and each turn is a day of time in this game, and the scale is like about 1 mile per hex, and units are from battalions up to divisions. And it has special rules for gas and for tanks and for Sturm, and it's kind of a cool game. I definitely played this one, and again, it wasn't short. I think it's 16 turns total, but it was a lot of work getting through those, and simple game, but it definitely took its time. Then I have this one, The Mighty Endeavor. This is the original version that only covers the Normandy invasion through the end of the war in May of 1945. And this game, each turn is 10 days of time, so this scales you up quite a bit, and the game goes 25 turns. And it has rules for emergency supply. Headquarters are very important in this game. Gaining control of the ports, establishing beachheads, and then the use of air. The Allies pretty much can use air to establish air superiority and interdiction of the Axis units, but also to use ground support directly in attacks. Of course, that's affected by the weather. Excellent game. This is really a good game. There are rules with trucks to set up your supply links, so there's a little bit of an art to discovering how to set these up for maximum value to get your units forward in this campaign. Then I have this game, Guadalajara, and this is a Spanish Civil War game from 1937 about this very battle. This game is 1 or 2 days per turn, and it's only 11 turns long, but it does have some mistakes. There's a lot of errata in this one that you can get by going to Multiman Publishing and look under resources and find the Gamer's Archive. Under Standard Combat Series, you can find this game and all of the materials. But one really big one, they left out the air point chart to develop, how many air points you get each turn. You can get that on the website, though. So that one's an important one, plus a few rules that had to be clarified. Still a decent game on the Spanish Civil War. It has rules for air power, anti-tank, tanks, and also tanks breaking down and getting repaired, because this was 1937 after all. Flamethrowers, trucks. They had armored trains and things like that. So decent game. I've definitely played this one through. I'll be able to produce a video on that sometime. I also have this game, Africa 2, which replaces the original Africa. I think it improved the game quite a bit. And this game has some, it's a long game. It's 28 turns, and each turn is like a month worth of time. So this is scaled out. And I know the map is not just one map, but you have another half map sheet to add on. So it does take a little bit more space than a one map game would, but it's from the Italian invasion of Egypt in September of 1940 goes right through to like December of 1942 as Rommel is headed toward Tripoli, and then eventually into Tunisia. The scale is 10 miles per hex, I think, and it has a wide array of units from divisions to brigades to regiments and battalions. So, and a lot of special rules in this, that not only Rommel rules, but you have O'Connor rules, which is very cool. So the British get their own version of a Rommel. You've got divisional integrity. You have air points, which can be used in combat. There are combined arms effects, which is a very cool aspect of this game. A fairly detailed supply system, which requires you to get a hold of the ports, especially the Axis, to be able to get supplies there. And basically each turn you roll a die if you control a port and see if you have maximum capacity or minimum capacity. And on some of those small ports, minimum capacity is 0. And there are rules for the long-range desert group, and which represents more than just that group, but the SAS, and so it's a very good game. This it's not huge like DAC or even the new North Africa game, and all of these games pretty much use the original Standard Combat Series rule set before they got tweaked later on. Anyway, we'll take a look at some more games.